Track 1. In this conversation, Anna and Ben discuss Jupiter's Travels by Ted Simon, a captivating book about a 4-year motorcycle journey around the world. They explore the themes of adventure, cultural discovery, and human connection, showing how travel can lead to personal growth.
Have you ever read Jupiter's Travels by Ted Simon?
I've heard about it. Isn't it the book about his solo motorcycle trip around the world?
Yes, it is. He traveled through 45 countries over 4 years. It's amazing to think about, isn't it?
That's incredible. I can't imagine doing something like that. What drove him to take such a journey?
He was curious about the world and wanted to understand different cultures and people. He believed travel could change the way he saw everything.
I can see that. Travel really does give you a new perspective. Did he face many challenges on the road?
Oh, absolutely. He dealt with mechanical issues, harsh weather, and even political problems in some countries. But he kept going, and those moments shaped him.
That must have been tough. What stood out to you the most in his journey?
I think it's how deeply he connected with the people he met. He stayed with locals in small villages and learned their way of life. It wasn't just a quick trip, he truly lived in those places.
That's what makes it more than just a travel story, right? It's about understanding humanity.
Exactly. He realized that, no matter where people are from, we all share common hopes and struggles. His journey wasn't just about seeing new places, but understanding how people live and survive.
That's really powerful. Did the book change the way you think about travel?
Definitely. It made me realize that travel is more about connecting with people and cultures rather than just sightseeing. I'd love to go on a long journey like that one day.
Me too. I'm adding Jupiter's Travels to my reading list. It sounds like a must-read for anyone who loves adventure.
You won't regret it. It's not just an adventure book, but also a story about personal growth and the beauty of human connections.
Track 2. In this conversation, Lisa and Tom discuss The Worst Journey in the World by Apsley Cherry-Garrard, an incredible account of the Scott Antarctic expedition. They explore the book's themes of survival, endurance, and the human spirit under extreme conditions.
Have you heard of The Worst Journey in the World by Apsley Cherry-Garrard?
Yeah, isn't it about the Scott Antarctic expedition?
Exactly. Cherry-Garrard was part of the expedition, and the book details their harrowing journey.
I heard it was one of the toughest expeditions ever. What made it so challenging?
The extreme cold, constant hunger, and terrible weather conditions. They were trying to reach the South Pole during one of the coldest winters on record.
That sounds brutal. Didn't they lose some members of the team?
Yes, Scott and a few others died on the return journey. Cherry-Garrard survived but was deeply affected by it.
That must have been devastating. What made you pick up this book?
I've always been fascinated by stories of survival and endurance. This book is more than just an adventure, it's about pushing the human spirit to its limits.
I can see why. Did Cherry-Garrard explain how they managed to keep going despite everything?
He talks a lot about sheer determination and the will to survive. But he also admits that luck played a role, especially when the conditions were beyond human control.
That makes sense. Was the whole book focused on just their trip to the South Pole?
Mostly, but there's also a lot about the team's preparation in their earlier journeys. It gives a full picture of the dangers and what it took to survive in Antarctica.
I should definitely read this. It sounds like a story of not just physical endurance but also mental strength.
You're right, it's both inspiring and heartbreaking. You really feel the weight of their journey.
I'm adding it to my reading list. It sounds like one of those books that stays with you long after you finished it.
Absolutely. It's not just about history, but also about human resilience in the face of the most extreme conditions.
Track 3. In this conversation, Sarah and Mark discuss Wind, Sand, and Stars by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. They explore the book's themes of adventure, philosophical reflection, and the beauty of flight. Sarah explains how the author's vivid descriptions and personal insights make this more than just a story about flying.
Have you ever read Wind, Sand, and Stars by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry?
I haven't yet. What's it about?
It's about his experiences as a pilot in the early days of aviation, flying through deserts and mountains. It's beautifully written.
Sounds interesting. Is it more of an adventure story?
Partly, yes. But it's also philosophical. He reflects on life, humanity, and the beauty of the world. It's much deeper than just an adventure.
I didn't realize that. What makes his writing stand out?
He has this incredible way of describing things. He makes you feel like you're in the cockpit with him, feeling the wind and the vastness of the sky.
That sounds really immersive. Does he talk much about the challenges of flying back then?
Oh yes, he does. The technology wasn't as advanced as it is today, so there were constant dangers. But he was also fascinated by the freedom of flying.
I bet flying over deserts must have been an intense experience.
It was. In fact, one of the most famous parts of the book is when he crashes in the Sahara Desert and nearly dies of thirst.
Wow, that's terrifying. How did he survive?
He was rescued after several days. But during that time, he reflects deeply on the meaning of life and human resilience.
That makes it sound more like a philosophical journey than just a physical one.
Exactly. It's as much about inner discovery as it is about the outer world.
I like that combination of adventure and philosophy. Do you think it's a difficult read?
Not really. His writing is poetic, but it's also accessible. The way he tells his stories pulls you in, even if you're not into flying.
That's good to know. I think I'll give it a try.
You definitely should. It's one of those books that makes you see the world a little differently after you've finished it.